This is not good. If you're Brian Flores hoping to get a job as an NFL head coach, which he apparently has been stymied in his search for a job, it has just been announced that Brian Flores is suing the NFL and the New York Giants specifically, alleging racism in hiring. He also claims that Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, offered to pay him $100,000 for every loss during the 2019 season to help the team get a better draft spot, and got mad every time the Dolphins won a game. He further claims that he has private text messages from Bill Belichick informing him 3 days before his interview with the Giants that Daboll had already been selected for the job, meaning that he never had a chance for the job and was, call it the way you want to call it. I don't know, like a token interview.
The Giants basically hired Brian Daboll before they ever interviewed Brian Flores.
Say that again?
They hired Brian Daboll before they ever interviewed Brian Flores.
Yeah, here's the text from Belichick. Sorry, I effed this up. I double-checked and misread the text. I think they're naming Brian Daboll. I'm sorry about that, BB.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick.
In the lawsuit concerning the Giants, Flores says, or his lawyer says, Mr. Flores was forced to sit through a dinner with Joe Shane, the Giants' new GM, knowing that the Giants had already selected Mr. Daboll. Much worse, on Thursday, January 27th, Mr. Flores had to give an extensive interview for a job that he already knew he would not get. Wow. An interview that was held for no reason other than for the Giants to demonstrate falsely to the league commissioner, Roger Goodell, and the public at large that it was in compliance with the Rooney Rule.
Well, didn't they interview Leslie Frazier?
No.
They did not.
They had not. Leslie Frazier, at that point, they had not.
Got it. Okay.
The Giants would likely have gotten away with this most insidious form of discrimination if Patriots coach Bill Belichick had not mistakenly disclosed it to Mr. Flores in the text message below. Belichick wrote Flores, "Sounds like you landed the gig. Congrats." Flores writes, "Did you hear something I didn't hear?" Belichick writes back, "Giants." Flores wrote, "I interview Thursday, but I do think I have a shot at it." Bill writes back, "Got it. I hear from Buffalo and NYG that you're their guy. Hope it works out for you if you want it."
Wow.
Yeah.
So Belichick's hearing that Brian Flores is going to be the next head coach of the New York Giants, and he's claiming he's getting that from either Shane or Buffalo sources and Giant sources.
So Flores writes back Bill, "Hey, it's definitely what I want. Thank you. I hope you're right, Coach." He then follows up by saying, "Coach, are you talking to Brian Flores or Brian Daboll, just making sure?" And that's when Belichick admitted, "Sorry, I effed up. I double-checked, and I misread the text. I think they're naming Daboll. I'm sorry about that."
So Belichick thought he was texting Daboll when he said, "Congratulations, I think you got the job," and mistakenly sent that text to Brian Flores. Because in his phone, he's probably got his Brian whatever.
Wow.
So Belichick, kind of like a 13-year-old girl, sends a text to the wrong person and sheds light on the fact that if this is all believable, that the Flores
he showed
interview,
the text message.
I've seen the text, So Belichick thinks he's congratulating, which is why he said, "Buffalo people are telling me you got the job in New York if you want it." So Flores took an interview with the Giants having already decided that Daboll was their guy.
It was a sham interview.
Which is what I've always said. One of my biggest problems with the Rooney Rule are when you interview guys who have no chance at the job. Now, some minority candidates like the experience of just going through the interview process and know they don't have a shot at the job. But for those like Flores, who have already been a head coach, who've proven themselves, it's offensive.
Yeah.
It's offensive to make me jump through hoops when there's no possibility that I can get the gig.
As Brian points out later in the lawsuit, because he's going after a lot of people right now, he mentions the Denver Broncos, that wasn't the first time he went into a, quote, sham interview just to comply with the Rooney Rule. And he cites a story from 2019 where he was scheduled to interview with the Broncos. And in that meeting, then general manager John Elway, Joe Ellis and others showed up an hour late to the interview. They looked disheveled, and it was obvious that they had been drinking heavily the night before. It was clear from the substance of the interview he was only being interviewed for the Rooney Rule.
Wow.
And that they had zero interest in hiring him, and shortly thereafter, Vic Fangio got the job.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Brian Flores has the Belichick text message is a smoking gun. And Belichick admits he messed up in sending the text to Brian Flores instead of Dable. He messed up.
Look, the Giants have a lot to explain. The NFL, obviously, they know they have an issue. But the other story out of this is the accusations against Stephen Ross.
Yeah.
About basically the owner of the Dolphins. Oh, my God, if this is true.
If this is true, Stephen Ross has to sell the team.
He's done.
He's out, right.
That Stephen Ross was saying to Brian Flores, we got to lose. We got to tank. We got to tank. What are we doing? We're winning too much. We're winning too much. And I even mentioned to you the other day about Joe Burrow versus Tua, how they played that game 3 weeks to go in the season. It was basically for the number one pick, or at least had a chance to be, and the Dolphins won the game. Flores did a good job with that team. They overperformed for the talent that they had. And according to this lawsuit, the owner of the Miami Dolphins is telling Brian Flores, come on, we need to lose. Here's $100,000 for every loss.
Yeah. This is, well, so a couple things. Number one, Brian Flores just made himself unhireable.
I know, and that sucks, man.
Which sucks because he's only now, he was a coach for 3 years in the NFL. He's a very well thought of guy, a classy guy prior to this, and was certainly at some point going to get another job, if not a head coach right away, a coordinator.
Craig, if this is true.
He's unhireable.
No, I agree. He'll never be hired, and this is why it's unfortunate to me. But if this is true,
yeah,
he shouldn't sue. What should he do? No, let's say all of this is true. Sham interview with the Giants.
Yeah.
Sham interview with the Broncos. A freaking owner saying, I'm going to give you money to lose games on purpose. Let's say all that's true. What should he do? Nothing?
No, listen, I respect the fact you got to fight the fight.
Just close his mouth and hope for a job?
No.
That's what he should do?
How do the Giants respond? The Giants have to respond to
They're going to deny it.
The Giants have not had a black head coach in 100 years.
They've never had a black head coach.
They've never had one. Never, Patrick Graham's a coordinator. So they've never had a head coach, though.
They did have
black.
They did have a black general manager in Jerry Reese. But you're right. They've never had, and that's mentioned in this lawsuit, as well as all the other issues the NFL's had over the years in terms of hiring minority candidates to be head coaches.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you think the NFL had to write a big check to make the Colin Kaepernick thing go away, they're going to have to write a big check to make this go away, because the last thing the NFL wants are each of its member teams to now, quote-unquote, open up the books publicly to their hiring practices. There is one black head coach in the NFL today, and it's Mike Tomlin. He's been there for 2 decades. So every job that's been given thus far, not that the white guys who've gotten it aren't qualified. They should not be looked down upon. Like Brian Dable was deserving of a job, no doubt. So is Brian Flores. So is Todd Bowles. So is Eric Bieniemy. So and on and on and on. So you've got, if the New York Giants conducted what is being described here as a sham interview, it's not illegal. It's untoward.
No, it's breaking NFL rules.
No, it's not.
There's a Rooney rule. It's a
you'd
thing.
Have to prove that the Dable deal was done first.
No, I get that.
Right.
And I don't know if the Belichick text message 100% proves it, but if the NFL does an investigation, which we really trust their investigations, but let's just say this is true.
Yeah.
The Giants did break a rule. I'm not saying they broke a law. They broke a rule, and what will come with that is probably a loss of draft picks and a fine, yes.
Yeah, but I tell you, it's iceberg stuff. We're at the tip of it. That's where we're at. And, it's funny. It's not funny. That's a better word than that. If you're Brian Flores, all you want to do is be a coach in the NFL. That's what you want to do. And I can't imagine the level of frustration he got to when he got that text message from Belichick. And then he's looking at the situation going, they have no interest in hiring me. They've already given the job away. Like, I've got too much self-respect for that.
He's in a.
Like, F you.
I agree
I'm
with
the
him.
token black guy you're interviewing.
I agree with him.
I've got
And
too much respect for that.
and that's
Self-respect.
that's why. Yes, I totally get the first reaction is, oh my God, no one's ever going to hire him to be a head coach. You're right.
Well, if you once you file the lawsuit,
Yeah.
you've just ended your coaching
Okay,
career.
but-
So my point is, I don't think Flores files this lawsuit like willy-nilly.
No, that's my point as well. And if you have been, first of all, as mentioned in this lawsuit, this wasn't your first, quote, token interview. You've been disrespected before. He cites what happened in Denver. What this is your final straw. You deal with that crap in Miami where you were a winning NFL head coach. What was our reaction when Brian Flores was fired?
Couldn't believe it.
We were shocked. We were like, the GM's keeping his job, really? Okay, Chris Grier's keeping his job. But Brian Flores is out. The owner's incompetent. What have they won? The GM's incompetent. But let's get rid of the head coach. So all of our reactions without knowing the inner workings was they're clueless. Now, you're Brian Flores. You know you've been hosed. You know you had an owner, according to his lawsuit, saying, hey, I'm going to give you money to lose games. You get fired. You went on a token interview before you got the Miami job. Now you've been told by Belichick you're the Giant coach, later to find out you never had a shot. And you're sitting there being interviewed for a job you know you're not getting?
Yeah.
I don't blame him at all.
No, it's offensive.
It's offensive. And what are you going to do about it? We always say, what you going to do about it? You going to sit there and stay quiet and hope someone gives you a job? Or are you going to say, enough?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
No, listen, self-respect.
You're going to
right?
say,
Now,
enough.
hold on. Now, he did have the interview, though.
He did.
He did go through the sham interview. To me, I would have said, go F yourselves. I'm not sitting down for this interview.
I don't know, man.
Like, he went through the interview, which would be really interesting to see how did that interview really go, because if you're Brian Flores and you're a proud man, and you're sitting in this interview, and they're asking you all these questions about what would you do if you were our coach? What would you do? And in your heart of hearts, you're like, I know you've already given the job to Daboll. That interview could not have gone well.
Well,
right?
I wonder if they
Because you got
showed.
to have a chip on your shoulder.
Well, no, I think you could also be looking at it as I'm going to prove to them that decision they made 3 days ago is wrong. I'm the guy for this job.
Yeah.
I think also, were they interested in the interview? Because as he cites in the Denver story, they were hungover.
Right.
They were an hour late. They were disinterested.
Yeah.
He didn't say that about the Giants. Now, what does that mean? Were
Right.
the Giants conducting a real interview?
Don't know.
Where they were going to really give Brian Flores a chance to impress them enough to get the job? Or did they truly give Brian Daboll the job days ago?
Can you guys double check? I just want to make sure we're right on the Frazier thing. I thought they talked to Leslie Frazier. I don't know if it counts as an official interview or
They
not.
talked to him on Friday.
So does that
they
not
talked to him
count?
in person on Friday?
Yes.
They did do because
Zoom doesn't count.
Okay.
That's what I'm
I'm
asking.
just
there
giving
we
you the
go.
rules.
All right,
We-
okay.
Zoom does not count as an
As an
interview.
official interview.
It does
Got it.
not.
They
It's
did
got to.
Zoom with him prior.
Yes, it does not count. It has to be an
Okay.
in-person interview, and the Leslie Frazier in-person interview was a day after the in-person interview with Brian Flores.
Well, I'm just looking. The Flores lawsuit is a 58-page lawsuit against the NFL, which spends a lot of time also giving you historical background
Right.
on the disparities between minority and non-minority coaches and front office people and the makeup of the Players Association, all that stuff. So there's a lot of just historical data
A lot
in
of
there.
stuff about Colin Kaepernick in
Yeah,
there. The
yeah.
Giants gave Mr. Kaepernick no consideration and suggested that it was because the team feared backlash from the fans if it signed Kaepernick, a statement that journalists understandably labeled dangerous. But you're right, going through the history of the NFL and their racial issues, talking about John Gruden and that situation. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I think, so there's a couple things here. Just there's a lot to unpack. There's obviously the New York Giants are now being labeled as racist. They have to respond to that. And you have to respond quickly and with vigor if you want to deny it.
I apologize. I don't, tell me if I'm wrong here. It's not that the Giants are racist. It's that the Giants conducted a sham interview.
With a black man.
With
it's
a,
racist.
with a,
That's racial. There's the only way to look at it.
they skirted these rules,
They
essentially is
skirted
what
a
they
rule
did.
to give minority men or women
Yeah.
an opportunity to get a job.
Right.
By
but they
definition,
already
that's
decided
racist.
they already decided who their head coach was, essentially.
Right.
Last
so even,
week.
to me, even worse. Even worse. You made a black guy dance for you, is what you
Well,
did.
if you look at it that way, yes, it's
I mean,
very
that's
racist.
essentially what you did.
Right.
Right? Now, do I think that John Mara's a racist? I don't. But the organization comes across in a very poor manner.
It comes
based on what
across
Flores
as
is accusing them of.
across as if they disrespected the intention of the Rooney Rule,
Right.
which is
right. That's a better way to put it.
yeah, that's the way I would look at it. And John
Now-
Mara, if I'm not mistaken, is on the committee. I forget the actual name of the committee, so you could tell me the name of it,
Go
but
ahead.
that involves improving the Rooney Rule, implementing the Rooney Rule, and looking for diversity in the workplace in NFL front offices. I think John Mara is on that committee. So
Yeah.
John Mara is at least, quote unquote, tried to make an effort. But yeah, they disrespected the intention of the rule, essentially, by saying, oh, yeah, there's a Rooney Rule. Okay, well, we've already decided who we're hiring, so we're going to try to skirt it. We're going to try to get around it.
On Monday, January 24th, Mr. Shane finalized Mr. Flores' interview date for January 27th. On the 24th at 2:30 p.m., Mr. Flores received a text message from Bill Belichick, clearly an insider and privy to non-public information from direct sources, acknowledging that Brian Daboll had already gotten the job. On the 24th, 3 days prior to the scheduled interview for Mr. Flores, who would not have known about that fact if not for the Belichick texting error. Boy, it seems like everybody runs to Bill Belichick to tell him what they're doing.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, but meanwhile, Bill doesn't know who he's texting.
And he has no idea who he's texting.
He has no idea what he's texting. He's no idea what he's saying. I mean, Bill Belichick is the closest thing to proof in this. Because the text message is the text message.
Mr. Flores spent Monday evening, Tuesday, and Wednesday, including a dinner with Mr. Shane, knowing that he was walking into Thursday's interview with no chance to get his dream job, the Giants head coach. How about that?
I don't understand those, because I'm even seeing it on Twitter, who are blaming Brian Flores for doing the interview. Like,
Well,
I can't blame him for that.
Because if you, from the outside in, it's what I said 10 minutes ago. From a self-respect standpoint, if I know the job's been given to you or to whomever, why am I going to put myself
Couple
through
of
that?
reasons, couple of answers to that.
That's
Number one, you still think you can get the job.
No, but the point of what people are saying is, if he knows he's not getting the job because of the Belichick tax,
Yeah, but
why are you interviewing?
Because, like what I just said, you still think you can
No.
convince that. Yes. Look, I'm telling you. You wouldn't go into an interview, even if you've heard you're not getting the job. Someone else is saying, hey, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to kick ass in this interview. I'm going to make them change their mind. I've actually won games in the NFL. The guy they're about to hire is a coordinator. What's he done? I'm going to go in there with the self-confidence to change their mind. I can't look at him going into the interview as, that just proves that this is all BS. Come on. You're still going to go into that interview.
I understand what people are saying.
Well,
'Cause
you can understand
that
that
was
they're
my
wrong.
first thought. No, they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
It's a simplistic way to
No,
look at
they're
it.
not
You're
wrong.
sitting here from 90
No,
feet
no.
up saying, I wouldn't have done that.
They're
Come
not
on.
wrong. I understand. That's the first way I thought, that if I know I'm walking into some bogus thing, I've got too much pride. I've come through too much to get to where
There's
I've got
also
to in life.
only-
I'm not your huckleberry.
No,
on
no,
that
but
one.
there's also 32 jobs in the NFL. This is your
But this
dream
one
job.
I can't get because they already gave it away.
Yeah, but you don't know for sure until it's a done deal. And you also had Belichick telling you in one breath, oh, you're getting the job. In the next breath, he's not getting the job. Maybe you're not even sure if Bill knows what the hell he's talking about.
Seemed like he knew pretty good. But it's not, listen.
Not
it's
really, when at first
That's what I'm saying. That's a personal thing. Either you feel like, I'm going to go through it anyway because who knows, maybe I wow them. Or you say, F that. I have too much pride to put myself through that. I'm not dancing. And I get it.
By
I get
the way,
both sides.
the other story in this, another accusation against Stephen Ross, is that Ross was trying to convince Flores to recruit a prominent quarterback in violation of league tampering rules. Did you see that aspect?
I didn't get to that part
Yeah,
of it.
after the 2019 season, Mr. Ross began to pressure Flores to recruit a prominent quarterback in violation of league tampering rules. Flores repeatedly refused to comply with these improper directives. Undeterred, in the winter of 2020, Mr. Ross invited Mr. Flores onto a yacht for lunch. Shortly after he arrived, Mr. Ross told Flores that the prominent quarterback was conveniently arriving at the marina. Obviously, Ross had attempted to set up an impromptu meeting between Mr. Flores and the prominent quarterback.
Oh, what are you doing here?
Mr. Flores refused the meeting and left the yacht immediately. After the incident, Mr. Flores was treated with disdain and held out as someone who was non-compliant and difficult to work with. From that point forward, Mr. Flores was ostracized and ultimately fired. He was then defamed throughout the media and the league as he was labeled by the Dolphins brass as someone who was difficult to work with. That is true.
No, they did.
That's been out there for 2 weeks.
They tried to poison the well on him when they fired him. They went out of their way to poison the well.
They
and make it hard
certainly
for
did.
him. So that part we all agree with. They did do that.
Yep.
It's really, I tell you what, I think, so here's the deal. He's suing the NFL as a body for racial discrimination and hiring practices. That's one aspect. He's also specifically going after the New York Giants, member team of the NFL, and Stephen Ross for defamation and other things, racial discrimination.
Do you remember a week ago there was a report, you may have been the one who had it, that John Mara wanted Brian Flores as head coach of the team?
I told you that John Mara reached out to him, yeah.
So was there validity to that, and Joe Shane just said, hey, you hired me to be the GM, I want my guy? Or was that leaked out on purpose?
Let
me...
In the law, I got to go back to the page on it. I had it a minute ago. In the lawsuit, he talks about the entire timeline of his interactions with the Giants. So during the break, I'll find that, Evan, but it is in there. I don't want to say exactly what it is. I don't remember. But he gives a full timeline of first contact through Sham interview with the Giants. So let me find it. It's in the lawsuit.
This is crazy, man. There is so much from this that is so damaging to the National Football League.
Yeah. This is a landmark case now because now the NFL is being sued for racial discrimination in its hiring practices. This is a landmark case. So Brian Flores is now trading his love of coaching football to be the guy that enacts change. And there's a lot of respect for that.
No question. Because you're right. As great of a coach as I thought he was for the 3 years he was there, I don't know if we ever see him coach in the NFL, which is a shame.
And if you can prove the Stephen Ross stuff, Stephen Ross has to be forced out as owner of the Dolphins.
I would think so.
Can't tell a coach to fix games.
You're telling a coach, I'm
lose.
giving you money to lose games on purpose.
Yeah,
He's
forget
done.
about even the alleged tampering with a quarterback. All right, I mean, that's not really nothing, right? It's, I'm going to give you a bonus to lose.
Yeah.
In other words, I want you to fix the outcome of games. You're gone.
Gone.
Have to be gone. There's no integrity in the sport if that's taking place.
And don't you believe Brian Flores?
I don't know. Yeah, I do.
Look, Craig, we never know because we're not there. So obviously we don't know. But you ask me, do I believe him?
Yeah.
Honestly, everything I've read so far, I believe everything he's saying.
This is crazy.
And by the way,
the New York Giants thought they were having a good week.
Yeah. And a part of why I believe him, because this is the part that's tough to argue because facts are facts.
Yeah.
There's one black coach in the NFL.
Yeah, that can't be disputed. Yeah. Now there are 2 black front office execs just hired.
Yep.
But there's only 1 out of 32 on the sideline. Yeah, they go through in this lawsuit, they go through all that too. It's really like a historian's guide to the plight of African Americans in positions of authority in the NFL.
Well, it's showing you the history of this league and what they've attempted to do, the results that are right in front of you, and Brian Flores' individual experience over the last 4 years.
Well, listen, I applaud the guts and the balls that it takes to do what he's doing because, again, he'll never coach in the NFL again.
I completely agree. My first reaction to this, digesting all of it, is wow. Like, he is doing something that for him selfishly, he may never get to truly benefit from. But for the greater good, does this cause change in the NFL? Certainly can. Certainly hope so. But for him and what he's gone through over the last 4 years, if you believe the accusations.
That's weird.
He's given it all up.
Why would the Giants feel, or some person in the Giants organization, feel the need to call Bill Belichick up and say, listen, we're going with Dable? Or why would Joe Shane, I know there's a connection, I get all that, but why would you feel the need to reach out to Belichick, an active coach in the league? Like, if you want to call Parcells up, although I don't get it, I get it.
Right.
But why would you call an active coach in the NFL?
I think I have a reason. Because he's connected to both candidates. He brought in Brian Dable. He brought in Brian Flores. So if you're about to hire either one, you're probably going to have a conversation with Bill. Even though you had a conversation with Bill about Joe Judge, and we know how well that worked out. But Bill Belichick has a connection to both guys. So it's not just some random great head coach. It's a guy who knows both of the candidates.
Yeah. Well, it's nuts. Wow. We just went from Tom Brady, woohoo, to this. And this is now, I mean, this ultimately is bigger than Kaepernick, I think.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, so many levels of it. I mean, there's like 5 different major stories out of it.
And it involves, one of the most prominent teams here, the New York Giants. They're at the center of this. They are.
They're a big part of it, yes. The Dolphins and the Giants are a huge part of this. Denver to a degree, too, because they've conducted a sham interview a couple of years ago before they hired Vic Fangio. How'd it work out with Vic Fangio, by the way?
This is nuts. Really nuts. And all because Bill Belichick accidentally texted the wrong Brian. Because if you don't have that, the New York Giants are just one of 32 teams that you could say, I've never hired a black head coach, and they're a part of it. They're not the part of it. They're part of the NFL, but the Belichick text now make the Giants, a racist organization, allegedly. Right?
Yeah, I think that
Bill
the
Belichick,
stuff
unbelievable.
The stuff that he's accusing Stephen Ross of.
Yeah.
And Denver of, but specifically the Dolphins to start, because if he lost his job and he's citing back to why and how they spread information about him, you would think that in itself would have been enough for him to say, I got to do something. I think the final nail in a way was hearing from Belichick, oh yeah, this job's already been handed out, but good luck on that interview tomorrow.
Right. He
went
from great news, you got the job. And Flores thinks, oh, my God,
right.
I'm going to get my dream job coming from New York, the Giants. And he's like, wait a minute, are you talking to the right person?
Right.
I haven't even interviewed yet. And I can't imagine if you're Belichick, his stomach must have dropped.
Brian Flores has released a statement. Would you like to hear it?
In 1 sec. If you're Belichick and Flores writes back to you and goes, Bill, I think you got the wrong guy. I didn't even interview yet. Belichick's got to be like, oh, my God.
Yes, I want
to
shut my phone down and run away if that was me.
Right? All right, good. What did Flores put out? Because I have the lawsuit, but I don't have a comment from him. Go.
God has gifted me with a special talent to coach the game of football, but the need for change is bigger than my personal goals. In making the decision to file the class action complaint today, I understand that I may be risking coaching the game that I love and that has done so much for my family and me. My sincere hope is that by standing up against systematic racism in the NFL, others will join me to ensure that positive change is made for generations to come.
Yeah, like I said, he is trading his career to make the NFL a more all-encompassing organization.
Yep.
Yeah, inclusive.
No doubt.
Pardon me, inclusive organization.
No doubt.
And that takes balls. That literally, I'll be mocked for saying this, that's Jackie Robinson type stuff. That's Muhammad Ali type stuff.
Well, he also
that's
does
Kurt Flood type stuff.
Yeah,
that's real.
And Brian Flores is not sitting on $1 billion where he can sit back and say, I'm set for life. My family's set for life. He's not. So it takes a lot of guts, a lot of courage, I think would be the word, to do what he did today.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll regroup, get your take on it. Tommy, during the break, come in here. We'll see if we can't reach out to Brian and or to the lead lawyer on this and get it from the proverbial horse's mouth. But this is a doozy, an absolute doozy, and the Giants are front and center in it. I'm sure they're not the only team that's done things like that. The Broncos, of course, are being accused of it as well. But this is a real doozy. Wow.